Welcome to Bending Perspective, different takes on Avatar the Last Airbender. This is episode 4, and we're going to cover the episodes Jet, The Great Divide, and...
The Storm.
The Storm. Why are you looking at me like that, Abby?
Is The Great Divide after Jet or before Jet?
Yeah, it's after.
It's after Jet.
Did I watch them out of order?
My name is Emily.
I'm Abigail, the confused one.
Hey, I'm Daniel.
And I'm Adrian.
Okay, so the first episode is Jet. So Dan, take it away.
All right. So Jet starts off with them waking up from camp, and Sokka stating that according to his instincts, they need to stop flying around with Appa because that's how they're being tracked. They need to go on foot for just a little while. And they end up going foot right into a Fire Nation camp. And as they're about to be overrun, a group of freedom fighters, led by charismatic leader Jet, rush in and save them. We start getting this dynamic between Sokka and Jet, where Sokka being the leader of the trio, and Jet being the leader of this...
Peter Pan-like group.
Yeah, this group of kids, these child freedom fighters. So they take them to their hideout, which is hidden up in the trees of the Fire Nation, and Aang and Katara are loving it. But Sokka is a bit, iffy about the whole thing, and they eventually take Sokka on a mission, where they ambush an old man, which Sokka is very much against, because he sees the old man as innocent, but Jet sees him as just another member of the Fire Nation. And they essentially rob him, which does not sit well with Sokka. And eventually there's this whole thing where Jet's trying to get Aang and Katara to fill up a reservoir for a dam.
A what?
A reservoir.
Reservoir.
A dam reservoir. And it's revealed that they're trying to blow up the dam to wash away the entire Earth Kingdom village that's being occupied by the Fire Nation. And they end up getting rid of Sokka by capturing him and taking him for a long walk to prevent him from doing anything about it. And then, Aang and Katara unwittingly help Jet, but then they figure it out, but it's too late for them to do anything. However, it's revealed that Sokka, while this was all going on, managed to escape and ran to the Earth Kingdom village to warn them and get everyone out in time.
Yep. Awesome. Then they fly away.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and at one point, Sokka went and complained to Katara and Aang about Jet, and so they confronted Jet to see if Sokka was correct, and Jet lied to them.
Yeah.
And Katara and Aang sided with Jet and not Sokka. So that also, I'm sure, hurt his feelings.
Yeah. Okay, so comments?
Very good episode. I love this one. Definitely see Sokka trying to cement himself as the trio's leader.
Yeah. Yeah, in the beginning of the episode is kind of a revealing... Katara's like, you're not the leader. If anybody, Aang should be the leader because he's the Avatar. And then they go directly to Aang being an idiot with Momo.
The entire episode.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, probably Sokka should be the leader.
Yeah.
Very pretty episode. The
Very
forest
nice.
Was gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another example of this is not your typical fantasy show where every member of a certain group is a certain way.
Right.
Not all Fire Nation people are evil. Not all people who fight the Fire Nation are good or do it, in the way that they should. And I think it was very... We keep saying the word complex and complexity, but I mean, it's the only one that fits. But
that's the third time you said that word.
Yeah, I know.
Do you have a tally mark? Why do you know that?
I'm just saying it's not that much.
But it is a complex idea that, normally in a show like this, the Fire Nation's the bad guys, everybody else is good guys, and people who are fighting the Fire Nation would be good guys, and Jet and his band are not. Yeah. Because they're not doing it the right way. And
there was a very nice parallel between the old man that ratted them out in the earlier episodes and then the old man that sided with Sokka and actually helped get the people out.
Yeah, they look very similar.
Yeah, so there's a really cool parallel.
Parallel.
Parallel's right.
It also, leads you to question, if this... Okay, obviously we all agree that Jet was not a good person in the sense that he wasn't doing the right things. But it also leads you to go down the road, okay, if this war didn't happen, Jet would just be a smart kid in the village, right? The circumstances have pushed him to this.
A tragedy has pushed him to this.
Yeah.
But turn that around, a tragedy pushed Sokka and Katara to be with Aang, and they're doing good.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's just really cool how... And the image of the little girl picking up the doll out of the water. Like, there's kids in Fire Nation villages, you know? So...
Well, this was specifically an Earth Kingdom village that was being occupied by Fire Nation soldiers. And Jet was like, I don't care about the Earth Kingdom villagers.
Well, they were all dressed in Fire Nation garb.
That's not true. Towards the end of the episode, the girl that picks up the doll is dressed in Earth Kingdom.
No, she was wearing blue.
No, she was in Earth Kingdom green, I believe.
Oh, well.
And the village, as you pan out to see it, is definitely Earth Kingdom. You see the arch.
Yeah, I know it's Earth Kingdom.
In it. But yeah, the villagers were Earth Kingdom.
But Jeff says, I don't care. If we take out Fire Nation soldiers, it's worth it to lose villagers.
But the old man was a villager too, and he was definitely Fire Nation.
Fire Nation. So I think it might be like Fire Nation colonizers in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That could be.
Yeah. Yeah, also, there was a couple of really pretty shots of... Appa was very absent this episode, but we saw him hanging out on top of the trees.
Yeah, and just chilling.
So yeah, it was fun.
That was fun. Which they did they say in the beginning Appa needs his rest or something like that?
Yeah, that's the thing. This show really puts out the fact that Appa can fly around, but he doesn't do it infinitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, he gets tired.
Yeah.
That's a big plot point for a lot of episodes.
And he got hurt. He got hurt with
he did get burned.
When they ran the blockade.
And Momo put it out.
He got hurt.
Yeah.
It should also... I really love the very quick characterization of all the members of Jet's gang.
Oh, yeah.
And for some very quick throwaway characters, that's a lot of characterization.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
They all have very distinct personalities. Mm-hmm. Oh, and Mom, we saw a projectile.
We did.
Longshot has an arrow.
Yes, we did see one. I was wondering.
He doesn't talk much.
No, if that was going to show
at all.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we also see our first, like, charismatic, manipulative leader, too. Mm-hmm. Which is always good to remind kids that that's not always
just
good.
Because the carrot's massive doesn't mean they're good people.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good little lesson. Alright, any other thoughts on Jet?
Fantastic episode.
Good episode.
I really like this one.
Yeah. The visuals are so far my favorite. I love the forest.
I also liked seeing Aang be a kid.
I liked him running around the trees.
It was so cute.
He played a really bad part in this episode. This was very much a Sokka episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, also the water bending was so cool in this episode.
Yes, they're really picking up Katara's water bending.
And them working together, those movements, it was really cool.
Also, Aang, Mom even mentioned this when we were watching.
Mom!
Every time.
I know. Aang was, like, aggressive with... You saw him kind of say, I'm not going to fight you, Jet, which... Nudge, nudge. But then it quickly goes into, okay, I'm done with this. And Aang, like, aggressively puts his butt on the ground.
Yeah. Well, he was manipulated, and so was Katara, which was just crappy.
Well, also, if the plan had gone through, and Katara and Aang thought it did, they didn't know that
that's
Sokka
very
had
true.
escaped. If that plan had gone through, then Aang and Katara would have been complicit in the destruction of this village. And I loved the moment where Katara looked at Aang and said, it's okay, Sokka's still out there.
Yeah.
Like, she believed that Sokka would come and make a difference.
And that's so Katara, though.
That is.
Yeah. She's so always like, oh, there's still, if there's a shred of hope, Katara is on it.
I loved all the instinct little quotes there, and then at the end, he's flying the wrong way. They have to turn Appa around.
Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong.
I also like that not only Aang can control Appa.
Yeah, we see Katara and Sokka are very comfortable with Appa.
One thing about the art style of this episode was those flashbacks, and we see that in different times. The flashbacks in Avatar have a different art style about them. And you saw that when Sokka had his flashback talking.
Yes,
it was still images, like very beautiful still images.
It looks like the drawing pre-animation. Yeah, it was really cool.
Okay, cool. So I guess we're gonna move on to the Great Divide. So
I'm so curious. Why?
Okay, well, no, you have to summarize it first because you're a fan.
Well, I'm not saying I'm a fan. I just don't understand. I guess anyway. By the way, I get very nervous when I summarize, so I don't know.
It's not that hard. This episode isn't.
Okay, I don't even know how it begins. I think they're flying Appa.
Yeah.
When it begins, and
they see the divide.
The canyon.
Mm-hmm.
They see the canyon.
In the world.
biggest canyon in the world. And so they land. And when they land, they see this man who is like, no, I get the tour guide. Like, my people get the tour guide. And so then, of course, they ask questions. And it ends up that there's one tour guide coming to bring a group of people through the canyon. And ends up there are two separate villagers that are fighting over this tour guide. Now, and I don't remember their names.
It doesn't matter.
There's the Zhang, and then I can't remember the upstuck ones because they had a difficult name. Ganjin. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so them. And then they immediately, when both of the villages come face to face, they immediately start arguing and like just bickering back and forth. And Aang has this moment with Katara of like, you're the Avatar, you're the peacemaker. You know, let's make peace. Like, I want to see you make peace. Let's do this. Let's get them to travel together, whatever. So Aang does that. He has a compelling speech, kind of, actually just really a statement. And they end up going into the canyon with the tour guide, both groups. Katara, Sokka, Aang, everybody. So once they get down there, first, before they go down there, the one rule is that you can't have food in the canyon. So naturally, there was food in the canyon, and these, what were they called?
Canyon crawlers.
Canyon crawlers came and attacked them because of the food. And it broke the tour guide's arms. So he can no longer earthbend, which is a good insight into earthbending.
It is.
And so then they're like, oh man, we're, crap out of luck. And so they end up dividing the two different villages. Sokka goes with the messy ones and Katara goes with the uptight ones, and Aang just watches. And so we get a little backstory about why they're bickering, and it turns out that there was this something orb.
Yeah, there was a sacred orb. Ganjin were transporting from the east gate to the west gate. And I can't remember the names of the two people.
It's like Wei Jin and Jin Wei.
It is. It's the same name backwards, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's annoying. But, the different sides. So the ball got stolen or taken or whatever, and somebody got thrown in jail for 20 years, and they are mad about it. And so they've been bickering about it for however many... 100 years.
100 years.
100 years. So
10 years.
Shut up!
So many centuries.
Oh my god. Okay, so they split up and more of the canyon crawlers come, and so they end up having to fight them together, and they use teamwork to get out and to escape. And then Aang has this lie that he tells them about how this was all just a made up story about two 8-year-olds fighting on a game that they played with a ball. Yeah. He was like, not an orb, a ball. And whatever. And he ended up making it up, but he did make peace. And that's all I got.
And then
for
they
you.
traveled together to Ba Sing Se.
Yes.
Alright, Abigail, why do you like this episode?
It's not that I particularly like it. Like, it's not gonna, spoiler, it's not gonna be in my favorites, but I don't understand why y'all hate it.
Okay, so there's a couple of reasons. One, for some reason, I distinctly remember them replaying this episode approximately 1,000,000 times on Nick. They picked this episode for and I think it's because
so many reruns.
It's a standalone, it's a filler episode.
It is a standalone.
And it doesn't, progress the plot.
Yeah,
it's a good show to keep having a rerun on.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first filler episode we ever get, and I don't think it's the only one we get, but it's
the worst one.
It's the worst one we get.
Yeah.
This is the first episode that does absolutely nothing with plot or characterization. Or the characterization it does do is negative, because...
It's bad, yeah. It's bad because
the lesson we get taught at the end is, hey, just go ahead and lie. Just do it. Just lie. It makes things better.
It does not fit with what we've learned so far of the Avatar's role and who Aang is, that make peace. Well, if they won't get along, just lie to both of them. It just doesn't seem to fit in the world. It seems out of place.
It didn't seem to fit with Aang. I don't know about the other Avatars. I think we learned a bit more about their process of making peace in the future. But, it doesn't seem to fit with Aang.
Yeah.
I also don't really understand why they didn't just take multiple trips of Appa.
Same.
Same.
I don't get that.
It was interesting that it was an interesting way to put them in jeopardy without Appa being there. You know what I mean? Because Appa, of course, is the way out, right? Everybody's Appa will take care of it. But, Appa had to fly the other people over, so he was gone. But yeah, why didn't Appa come back? That flight was so short. Appa could have done that 15 times.
We've already established that Aang has that whistle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And also, I didn't really like the like fitting Katara in this very specific category and then fitting Sokka in this very specific category.
Yeah.
And making, like, they try too hard to make them relate to these villagers.
For as much as Sokka has very much been about the wilderness, he's a great tracker, he's a, like, good fisherman and all this other stuff, and then he doesn't put a tarp on his tent.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense.
They tried too hard, I think, with trying to make them relate to one another.
Yeah. It was just a weak episode. Mom said, is this really the worst episode? And by far, yes. So, and I mean, that's pretty good. Like, it's watchable.
It wasn't awful.
Yeah.
It just was not, it felt like such a letdown after last week, you know, because we had last week, 2 days ago?
Literally yesterday.
Mom, it was last night.
Such a letdown from the 3 that we had with the solstice and the water scroll. Yeah.
No.
Oh, imprisonment too.
That was oh my gosh. We can't keep going down this road. Everything's confused.
Okay.
So
Never mind. It wasn't a great episode. Let's move on because the next one was really great.
Okay, yeah. So
I do like the next one.
Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
So the
Explain
next
how we're going to do it.
is the storm, and we're going to divide this one. Abby and I are going to summarize, probably mainly me, are going to summarize the Aang part of the episode, and then Mike Zuko is going to, of course, do the Zuko.
It's Mike versus Mike. Rap battle.
No rap battle. Okay, so...
Mike Aang. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. So just generally of the episode, it starts with them not having food or money.
Again.
So they go to this town and Katara tells Sokka, well, you need to get a job because we need food. And he overhears this old fisherman telling his wife, a wife is begging her husband, who's an old fisherman, like, do not go out. I can feel it in my joints. There's going to be a bad storm, right? Oh, before all this, Aang is having nightmares about a storm.
Yes, he is.
And then, long story short, Sokka goes on the boat with the old fisherman to make money. But before they take off, the old fisherman finds out that Aang is the Avatar and kind of chastises him. And this is the first time we see some anger about, it's been 100 years, you abandoned us, you ran away, da-da-da-da.
We needed you.
We needed you.
Yeah.
So Aang flies away. Katara doesn't really
he kind of
understand
has a temper
why.
tantrum.
Yeah, well, not really. He just
Not
kind of looks
temper.
scared and flies away. Okay, so then...
Yeah, he wasn't really angry. He was just sad and confused, I think was the exact
Hey.
word he used.
It's our time. Mike Zuko.
Okay, so Katara eventually finds him in a little cave. She had to fly up with Appa, and they sit down, and we get some backstory about how Aang left the air temple and how he ended up in the ice. So basically, it starts off with little Aang with all the little airbender kids, and they're playing, and all of a sudden the monks come and get him and reveal to him that he is the Avatar based on 4 toys that he chose. Then, it's made known that we weren't supposed to tell you till you were 16, but there are storm clouds gathering. War might be upon us. So then we flash to Aang kind of trying to process this. The other kids won't play with him. Some of the other monks really want to train. And then Monk Gyatso is kind of still trying to keep a normal routine with Aang, which the other monks do not appreciate. And then Aang overhears a conversation that they're going to take Aang away from Monk Gyatso. And, we see Aang's horrified face, and this eventually leads to Aang flying away from the temple with Appa. He gets caught up in a storm, and then we see him kind of go into his eyes and his arrows flash, and he freezes Appa and himself in an iceberg. And now we know. And we see Aang be really upset about this. He's like, I ran away from my people, and then very soon afterwards, everyone died.
Oh, he's ashamed.
Yeah, and Katara's like, well, maybe that's for the best, because you don't know, you were just a kid. What if you had died when they invaded? And, they kind of deal with that situation. Alright, so y'all deal with Zuko.
Alright, so it begins with Iroh telling Zuko that there's going to be a bad storm coming while they're chasing the Avatar, and advises him to turn back south instead of north, where the Avatar is going. And Zuko ignores him and says, no, we press on. We have to find the Avatar. And one of his crew members overhears this and gives him sort of a stink eye. And Zuko walks up to him and says, catching the Avatar is all that matters.
Yeah.
He specifically says the safety of the crew does not matter at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we sort of cut to the crew sort of down below around the fire barrel. And eventually they start talking about, like, how I can't believe this. He's disrespecting his esteemed uncle. He's disrespecting us. He's a terrible captain. And then Uncle Iroh walks down and overhears them and says, "Dude, do you mind if I join you?" And he starts giving us the backstory of why Zuko is so adamant on finding the Avatar no matter what. It is revealed that Zuko really wanted to get into a war meeting one time, and they wouldn't allow him, but Uncle Iroh vouched for him and let him in on the condition that he does not speak up. And so he sits on this war meeting, and this general goes on about his plan to defeat a very powerful earthbending battalion by throwing a division of raw recruits at it to tie them up. And then Zuko does a little outburst and says, "You can't do this. These are loyal men. You can't sacrifice them like this." So by disrespecting the general by speaking up, Fire Lord Ozai demands that there's Agni Kai is the only way to resolve this disrespect. And Zuko, thinking he's going to be fighting an old general, agrees to it. But when he gets down to the arena, he realizes that by speaking up in Fire Lord Ozai's war room, he was actually disrespecting his father. And so it's him that he has to duel. And he refuses to, sort of going down onto his knees and begging mercy, which is Fire Lord Ozai makes him even angrier, saying this is shameful. By refusing to fight, he has dishonored himself further, and burns his eye.
Yeah. And then banishes him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what Iroh sort of reveals to the rest of the crew is why he is so focused on getting the Avatar no matter what.
Yeah.
And then
it's his only chance.
Yeah, it's his only chance of returning things to normal.
Okay, and then after we get both backstories, it turns out that the old fisherman and Sokka are in trouble in the storm. So Aang and Katara fly on Appa and save them. And there's this, like, kind of good parallel where it looks like Aang's kind of lost control of Appa, and we might repeat what happened, but he ends up saving them both. And after he saves them, the old fisherman apologizes and says, "I am glad that you're here now. It was definitely meant to be." Okay, and then what happens on the ship?
Well, the storm starts acting up bad, and so the ship keeps on sailing, but eventually, as Zuko says, we have to get the ship to safety. The storm is too bad.
Well, first he risks his life and saves a crew member.
That's true.
Before that, Uncle Iroh throws some lightning around.
Oh, yeah.
He chant. It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the crew member, the helmsman, is stuck up at the top, and the lightning strikes, and he's in danger. And both Zuko and the crew member that he almost fought with earlier, the captain, I think. No, he's not a captain. But anyway,
he's just a crew member. I think he's a lieutenant, actually.
He is a lieutenant. Yep. They both climb up after the helmsman, and the helmsman falls, but Zuko grabs him and saves him. So you see that, anyway. But yeah, that happens. So he sees Appa, and he realizes that the Avatar is right there, but he also knows that he has to get his men to safety. So he chooses, protecting the boat over the Avatar. But there is a nice shot of him standing on the deck looking up while Appa flies over.
Yeah.
And Aang looking down, I believe, is the shot.
Yeah. So, let's start discussing. First, I want to pull out that they kept switching back and forth from Aang and Katara by a fire talking about flashbacks and Iroh and the crew by a fire talking. And I'm going to pull a Merlin term. We're starting to get that Aang and Zuko are like two sides of a coin situation. Like they're very connected. The show is going to great lengths to show us this.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and say that you're going to do a lot of defending now, Mom, of why Zuko is so great. And I'm not buying it. I'm not the biggest fan of him, like straight up.
Okay, well, I just want to say this. Last week, y'all laughed at me. Why do I keep saying last week?
No.
Last night. Y'all laughed at me because I said Zuko has honor. And hello, this child was banished because he spoke up for the men that were going to be sacrificed. That is nothing but an honorable move. And this child, he is still a kid, put himself on the ground and told his father that I am nothing but your honorable son. Those are the words he used. And then that man burned his eye and threw him out of the kingdom. How am I not supposed to sympathize with that character?
Yeah, but then he's a jerk to everybody. Tragedy, doesn't give you... Okay, just because you have a bad day doesn't mean you can be mean to a waitress.
It's a little more than a bad day.
Okay, but, also, this is a little bit more than a waitress at a restaurant. You can't... I don't know. I don't buy it.
Well, I also think there's a little bit, because I asked the question early on, why is Iroh here? Why is Iroh with him?
Did he get banished too?
No, but I think Iroh probably feels responsible because he brought him into that war room, and Zuko would have never been there if Iroh hadn't have done that. But I also wonder, this is confusing a little bit to me. Zuko can't speak out of turn in the war room. Surely Iroh can? Because that doesn't sound to me like Iroh's the type of general that would allow a bunch of young recruits to be sacrificed as well.
I don't think you should assume that.
He is the great dragon of the West.
Yeah.
He laid siege to Ba Sing Se for 600 days, Mother.
Yeah. Iroh was a hard general.
We get a little bit more of this in the future, but
Okay.
the
Right,
Uncle Iroh today is not always been.
Yeah.
That was
And it should also be
poetic.
It should also be stated that Zuko sort of blurted it out while the general was in mid-speech.
He did.
If I were going to guess, I would say Uncle Iroh was probably going to speak up, but
Maybe.
Zuko beat him to the punch.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, it filled in the blanks because we had been told already that he was banished, that that he was in a duel. We knew some of it, but we didn't have all the pieces. Just like with Aang's story, we had the basic skeleton, but we didn't know the details. And I think that was both sides, by the way. And I know I'm Mike Zuko, I do, but I think that Aang's story in this is maybe even a little bit more compelling because you see the anguish that he had because all he had in the world was Monk Gyatso and the fear. It was not just that he was going to be taken away from his father figure, but it was all of that pressure and all of that on top of him that he was never going to, and the children refusing to play with him.
Yeah.
He felt completely isolated and alone.
Yeah.
And he ran away, but I don't believe he meant to stay away forever. I think that was just I'm going to go away for a while so that they can't send me to the Eastern Air Temple and then I'll come back. And also heartbreaking, absolutely heart-wrenching. Monk Gyatso came to him that very night to tell him that he was not going to let him leave. And just...
Yeah.
All right, your turn's over. I loved the part for you people, Mike Zuko people. They didn't even know that Zuko's eye was burned by his dad.
Yeah, I assumed training accident.
I guess, I don't know why, but I thought that everybody knew what happened.
Yeah.
Everybody just knew the truth, but they didn't.
So I think, because it is a little confusing because you see a lot of people in attendance there during the Eggheim. But that's probably royal people.
Right, these guys were sailors.
Yeah.
They've just been out at sea.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly.
So that was very shocking for me to see oh wow, they do not know his story. I had something else but forgot, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, also very interesting that we get some characterization for Zuko's crew. They used to be
Yeah,
faceless. They used to be absolutely faceless.
Yeah. Because there's problems there with a 16-year-old kid giving orders, right?
Oh, when Mom even said that, because his crew routed him out that one episode, and Mom's like, they don't respect him. You see that really drilled in the beginning of his, in the beginning of this episode, pre-flashbacks of they have zero respect for this man or child, which is fair because he is a jerk and he's a child.
Also, we saw a cute moment where Zuko apologized to his uncle at the end.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay, what's up with the lightning people?
What do you mean?
Well, I was a little lightning around, and then he almost I couldn't read the expression afterwards. Was it shock?
I think it hurt.
Was it? Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you just say shock?
I hate y'all.
It was definitely a shock.
Talk about lack of respect.
This is electrifying.
There's some lack of respect at this table for your
Mom, we
elders.
respect your joke that you didn't mean to make.
Yeah, what's up with the lightning people?
Iroh lightning redirected.
Yeah.
We might get a bit of that more in the future. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Ooh, could we talk about the symbolism of where the Fire Lord was sitting? during the meeting. He was at the mouth of the dragon, and
you don't see his face.
You never see his. First of all, we still don't know what he looks like.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he was separated by everybody by a wall of fire.
No, yeah. There was.
That's insane. That's idolizing.
He's set up to be extremely intimidating.
Yeah, what Abigail just said is a good point. You can tell that this is a culture, that this is not a president figure. This is like a
God King.
godlike figure.
Mm-hmm.
And you do not see that, which I think the only other thing we could relate it to is the Earth King.
We don't.
Well, not Earth King, but I mean like the difference between Boomy's
Boomy.
level and then
Oh, okay.
the Fire Nation level of a Boomy, and they are wildly different.
Well, I think is there a centralized Earth Kingdom?
So
king?
Ba Sing Se is the capital. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a leader that's on the same level for the Earth Kingdom as,
but probably
Ozai.
not
Yes.
Yeah.
as
For
like
fire.
worshipped
What about
almost.
water?
There is.
There is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Not for air.
The Fire Lord is like, it's very, like I mentioned earlier, the Earth Kingdom is very decentralized. Their central authority figure is not 100% in control.
Okay.
Because there's other kingdoms within the Earth Kingdom.
Right.
Yeah.
The city of Umashu is its own kingdom.
Yeah.
But the Fire Lord Ozai does not suffer any other kings in the Fire Nation. There's only one Fire Lord.
Yeah.
It's very, very
But
centralized.
we also, because of Aang's flashbacks, we got a glimpse of the air nomad government structure situation, and it's more a council.
Mhm.
So they let's switch over to Aang if that's okay. So they almost adopt the kids because they're not raised by parents.
Yeah.
So they're raised by
the community.
the community
I think.
only if they're benders because all of those boys were benders.
I don't know if they mentioned this, but did they mention this yet?
No.
We don't.
They don't?
I guess we don't know.
No.
They don't
Okay,
mention that
so
yet?
don't tell Abigail.
Yeah,
That's fine.
there is an important fact about airbenders that make them different from all the other elements.
Is everybody born a bender?
You say shit. Crap.
Okay. You keep making me lose my train of thought.
Ow.
Ew.
Don't hit each other.
Oh, I'll pick up somewhere. The toys was cool.
The toys was very cool.
So
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
And then, that was so cool when they were like, it was your past lives
You
coming
picked them
out.
because they were familiar.
Oh, that was so good!
Yeah.
Gosh,
That was very
that's
good.
amazing.
that was very good. And then Aang said, "I just picked them because they looked fun."
Yeah.
Nope, they were
So
familiar.
Which
they-
is very indicative. That's all you need to know about Aang's relationship with himself being the Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
I picked them because they were fun. That's actually because of your past lives. Like, Aang's just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
But so my question would be, since the Air Nation was in the Nomads, since they knew that the Avatar was going to be was already reborn by that point,
Correct.
because Roku was dead,
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
and so they knew that it was one of those kids, but they didn't know which one. So this
So,
was a test.
I don't...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't know which one.
They don't
also,
know when they're born.
Daniel, help me out.
Yes.
Do they know where the kid's gonna be born?
Mm-mm. They just know that it's going to be born inside the element.
Okay, so my only counter to that, and this is kind of jumping to Korra, is my understanding was, so Korra was Southern Water Tribe, and the Fire Nation specifically took out the Southern Water Tribe.
I don't think they did that on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that was on purpose.
Okay.
I think they took out the Southern Water Tribe because it's a lot weaker than the Northern Water Tribe.
Fair enough.
So we can assume that based on the attack on the air temple, we haven't seen the others. Apparently, are there 4 for each cardinal direction?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we can assume that they did the same in
Oh,
other
yeah.
places.
Yeah.
So did the Fire Nation at that point, they believed that they probably killed the Avatar because
Yes.
they killed all of those
no.
children.
Yeah, they say that multiple times. They believe the cycle is broken.
But they killed him
They're
with the idea that they would then also raid
that
the water
time-
tribes and continue to get him as a young
their
child.
idea was they didn't kill the Avatar. They thought they killed all the air nomads before the Avatar was born.
No.
No,
Yes.
they thought they
No,
ended the cycle.
because the
That's
sec-
why they thought they ended the cycle.
No.
Because it was their belief that they had killed all the air nomads
You're
before
wrong.
they could be born into it.
The second, we know this for a fact, the second the Avatar dies, the new Avatar is born.
We don't know that for a fact.
Yes, we do because of a future episode. Don't come at me.
No, I will come at you because
no, Daniel, I have the scene in my head right now.
Because they say multiple times we have broken the Avatar cycle.
They think. Listen to me. They think this because they took out because they didn't show up in the Water Tribe.
No, they believe they broke. Because that doesn't make sense because they never took out the Northern Water Tribe.
I know, but the Avatar never came out of there.
That's what I'm saying, is if they just killed the Air Avatar when he was a kid, then their belief would be he would be reincarnated. They were under the belief that they had killed all the air nomads before he could be born.
No, that's wrong, Daniel, because I'll show you the scene.
I don't think
they know.
I don't think that scene matters per se, because do they know when Roku died?
Yes. We know they know that too, Daniel.
I don't think that's right. I think
you're about to be wrong, sir.
No, alright, I'll believe you on the scene that the Avatar is born immediately afterwards, and I'll believe you that they know.
And the Fire Lord know the second that Avatar Roku died.
Yeah, I'll believe you on that, but I'm saying that I don't think they knew as characters that the Avatar was going to be born immediately. Because it doesn't make sense why they struck out at the air nomads if they believed he had already been born.
I think maybe that was about taking him out before he was powerful enough.
Well, 100. So maybe, but that's not what Daniel's arguing. He's arguing that they thought they broke the cycle.
Yeah.
So no Avatar would come again.
But here's the thing, though: the Fire Nation was still sending people out to look for the Avatar.
Right.
Yeah, but the reason why he sent Zuko on that quest was specifically because
Zhao too. I mean, not specifically, but Zhao was also aware of the search for Avatar.
Yeah, he knew that it was something that Zuko was on about, and the only reason he thought there was any success in it was because his ship was heavily damaged.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I feel
like it would have taken a heck of a lot more convincing than a damaged ship.
No, I mean,
against the Southern Water Tribe?
But they also had the lights in the temples, remember?
Yeah.
So they also had another
that
sign.
does prove it, yeah.
But I wonder, had any Avatar ever died in childhood before? I would imagine
we don't know.
not.
I don't think
so. I wonder if the Fire Nation thought, because usually they're not even told till they're 16, right? And the Fire Nation would be aware of that because the last Avatar was Fire Nation.
Everybody knows how it works.
They may feel like if we kill him before he's 16, then he'll never achieve the power of the Avatar, so he won't be able to pass it on.
I just feel like there's somewhere specifically in the show they say we believe the Avatar cycle was broken because all the air nomads were killed. It wouldn't make sense.
But some of the other firebenders were like, they've also said some people believe the cycle's been broken. Right? There's definitely debate about this.
Okay.
I think the whole Fire Nation thing was, the comet was coming, we know about that now.
Mm-hmm.
They had the comet, they were like, also, the air nomads were weak. This was a good way to start a war, right? Like, this was a Poland, right? Like, just march in there and that was dark, but get stuff done. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good starting off point. And they had the comet, and they knew that the Avatar was going to be in the air.
And they're very isolated, so it's not as if you invade an air temple, all of the neighbors will be able to tell what you're doing. Because they're very, very separate.
And, like, as we've seen, it's been 100 years, they still haven't gotten bossing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Earth Kingdom is strong. We know the Southern Water Tribe isn't strong, but we're about to find out the North is. Like, there's a reason
Spoilers, Emily.
I mean, there's a reason they're going to the North, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think it was all about
waterbenders in the North. There aren't any in the South.
Yeah. Which, the presence of waterbending equals stronger. That's just true, right? So, yeah, I think they're just trying to get up there and blast this thing off.
Okay.
And they did.
Well, this was a great episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
I love the parallels between characters. I liked understanding more about Aang. I liked all of it.
Me too.
It was very, very insightful. And even not in the flashbacks, we learned about the characters, which is cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Sokka stepping up as a true leader, being like, okay, I'll go in the storm if we need money and food. Let's go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated that. And Katara being almost mom-like of like,
she's
I need to go
mother-like.
comfort Aang.
Yeah.
And we once again see her pick out the good things about a bad situation.
Yes, so optimistic.
Yeah.
And we got to see Aang sad, and I think that's important.
Yeah, we got to see Aang. This is the first time we realized the weight of the situation on him.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because he chose to run away.
Oh, and his facial expressions after the nightmare is
yeah,
like,
did y'all see do you see him get mad and his tattoos flash?
Yep.
Yeah.
In the
his
cave.
eyes
in the
and his
cave, yeah.
yeah.
But Katara touched his hand and they immediately went away.
Yeah.
Can we just say how naive she is? Like, this is going back to Jet, but God almighty, she's naive.
Yeah.
She believes in the good. She wants to see the good in people. She didn't want to believe that Jet was, deceiving them. She wants to believe that people are good. And that's a wonderful attitude to have. It's also
Dangerous.
It opens you up
Right.
for being taken advantage of in a way.
So I know this is more big picture, but a whole theme of this show is hope, right?
Mhm.
Like how Aang really carries the hope, but Aang doesn't. Aang carries the hope in the way that he is the Avatar, but Katara carries the hope in her actual personality and
Right.
character, not
Yes,
Aang.
absolutely.
You know.
I mean, and I believe Aang can save the world.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's the opening.
We keep on mentioning these characteristics of these characters, and later on in the third season, when that one episode comes up, I just always look forward to that one where they sort of poke at those characteristics a lot.
Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Okay, the next episodes are bangers, all three. I'm pumped. We've got the Blue Spirit. Whoop whoop, been waiting for this.
Such a good one.
The Fortune Teller and Bato of the Water Tribe.
Cool.
Yep.
How
And then
many
we got,
episodes are on every season? I mean, this season at
So
least.
20. So
Okay.
after this next episode, so we'll have episode 5 covering the 3 episodes I just mentioned, episode 6 covering the 3 episodes before the finale, and then episode 7 is just going to cover the 2 episodes of the finale. We're just going to really focus on those. And then we move on to the second season. So, yep. We're trying to, I know this doesn't really apply, but we're trying to fit this all in the summer because I start medical school and the twins start school back and all that stuff. So, yep. Okay.
Well, we haven't done favorites.
Oh, shoot! Okay, Abigail, favorite of the 3.
Last one.
The Storm.
The Storm.
Mine's the Storm as well.
Mm-hmm. I have to go with the Storm.
The Storm.
Okay.
Yes, Storm is great.
Don't start with me for this.
Anybody changing?
Don't start with me.
We are one at Winter Solstice Part 2 right now.
We are.
Anybody jumping ship?
This is hard.
I'm jumping ship for the Storm.
I am too.
Oh, wow.
Like Zuko jumped for the Storm.
We get a lot more good Zuko action
Lots
in
of
the Storm.
Iroh, and yeah, lots of Iroh. Not just Iroh. Iroh being Iroh. You know, this whole thing about him going down and just, even though the crew is talking bad about his nephew, he joins them and sits with them by the fire. He doesn't chastise or get angry about that. He wants people to understand.
Yeah.
It was just really well done.
Yeah. I'm staying on the ship. I'm doing Part 2. Winter Solstice.
Really?
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is so hard. I'm leaning towards Winter Solstice Part 2, though.
Oh my goodness, the mics have split.
I know.
The
I was
mics
gonna
have
say-
always been split.
I was going to say last episode we should change our name because it wasn't any different perspective. We were all just 100% Winter Solstice Part 2.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's interesting.
It's
I
Mom's
think
turn.
a bunch of people are going to jump ship after these 3, though.
Mom.
Yeah, Mom, it's your turn.
I forgot.
We'll come up with it.
Okay, thanks for joining us, and remember, your perspective matters.
Oh,
That's
cheesy.
okay.
Cheesy.
I like Daniel's better.
Bye, y'all.
I like Daniel's better.